Hi everybody, welcome. I'm Bruce Beck. Right now I am going to start one of my most favorite dishes. It's kind of a breakfast dish really in Mexico. One of these kinds of dishes will really fortify you and hold you until lunchtime. This is pork shoulder in green sauce, that is tomatillo. One of the nice things about this dish is that the pork and the sauce are prepared separately, at least to begin with. So we can do different things with them. We'll have all this pork in broth. There are all kinds of soups and stews that I could make with that, so could you. And the green sauce, it's delicious with chicken and with fish and shrimp and all kinds of things. Let's get started. The pork needs to cook very gently for about an hour and a half or so until it gets tender. And when you cook meats this way for these wonderful, simple Mexican dishes, all you need is onion, bay leaves, and garlic. And you don't even have to peel the garlic cloves. You don't have to peel the onions either. Also going to start the other things. We have our tomatoes. Now these are husk tomatoes, these skins. So they have to be peeled and they have a very strange, sticky, almost waxy coating on them. So make sure you rinse that off well. These need to just be cooked until they start to get tender. You know, maybe 10 minutes at the most. It's traditional to puree those with the chile, whether it's fresh or dried, with some onion and garlic. And then to literally fry that sauce, which may seem strange, but it works quite nicely. However, if you're doing a large quantity, it'll be a little bit messy. So I'm taking the onion and the garlic and a couple of chiles, these chiles serrano. We're going to cook these in a little bit of oil. Just cook it slowly and let it kind of sort of roast a little bit till it gets a little bit brown. That way, when we puree it with the tomatillos, we'll get a really nice sauce. So that's onion, garlic, and chile. A little bit of vegetable oil on there. And then you want to put this on a fairly low flame. So now back to our pork. Let's go ahead and get that going. This is a shoulder. This one weighed about 8 pounds altogether. This is the one with the bones and the skin. This is very popular in island cookery. You know, that's your pernil for all those wonderful roasts from Puerto Rico and Dominicana. You can use that, but I discovered when we were making these kinds of dishes in my restaurant that I didn't really need the skin and bones. In theory, the skin and bones will give you more flavor and natural gelatin, keep things nice and moist. I would suggest to you that if you have a source for boneless pork shoulder, why not try that? And we want chunks that are, inch and a quarter, maybe inch and a half. When you trim the pork, don't trim it too closely. You want a little fat here and there. It has to cook for maybe an hour and a half, something like that, to get it nice and tender. So I wanted to have about 3 or 4 pounds of meat for this. You can even do a little bit less than that. So we'll get this in the pot. If you're in a hurry, you can pressure cook this. I think it's a little bit more flavorful when you cook it the traditional way. In theory, by the way, a pressure cooker will give you results that require only 1/4 the time that you would need for conventional cooking. So I'm going to just do a few more pieces, and this will be plenty. Do you need to skim this? You know, I usually do, but actually it's not necessary. If you don't skim it, I have discovered with pork, the scum will fall to the bottom of the pan anyway. It sort of disappears in the bottom of the pan, and you'll still end up with a nice clear broth. So I wouldn't worry about it. So let me go ahead and seal this up. We'll put the weight on there, and okay, back to our veggies here. Notice that the chiles will start to blister. Okay, so that's what we're looking for, that blistering. So that will improve the flavor of the chiles. And we'll cook the onions through, get just a little bit of caramelization on them, and the garlic too, let it brown a little bit. So probably another 10-15 minutes with these will do it. So we'll leave that. When the pressure cooker comes up to temperature, the lid will dance. So we're going to give this, well, we're going to try 30 minutes and see what happens with the pressure cooker. After it comes up to temperature and the lid starts to dance, I'm going to run this over to the stove here, and we'll get that going. And we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll see you later. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to finish up our pork here, and we ended up doing about 35 minutes. Ooh, it's perfect, just perfect. Beautifully tender. I'll show you when I serve it. You remember our tomatillos, and they cooked for close to 10 minutes. There's another kind of tomatillo that you'll see on the market. They're quite tiny. They're called milpero. Those are more expensive, and they're considered to be finer in flavor. That's our serranos. I'm taking the caps off. You saw that the onions and the garlic have a little bit of golden touch to them here and there. So we have to puree this now with a handful of cilantro. You can do this with various devices. I have an immersion blender here, so I'm just going to do that. I'm going to put a little salt in. So this is just the cooked tomatillos, the cooked onions, garlic, and chile serrano, and some cilantro. So that's our green sauce. Let me just get this smoothed out, and we'll heat it up a little bit. Okay, I think I got it. So all the components here except for the cilantro are all cooked. So we're pretty much good to go as soon as this gets nice and warm. Isn't that pretty? I love that color. Now, if you have issues with cilantro, just leave it out. You know, there are other things that you can use instead of cilantro. Consider using a little bit of epazote. And that'll make a sauce that's especially good with fish. You could also use hoja santa, which is a beautiful, big, heart-shaped leaf with a lovely, lovely taste. There's another very Mexican herb. It's especially popular in Puebla, called papalo. Nice. A little more salt. Sometimes you might feel like you need just a little pinch of sugar too, but I think this is okay now. Usually the onion, that little touch of sweetness that you want for balance. So I think we're good to go. So let me bit of pork. See, it's nice and tender. And we'll add some of our green sauce. Now you can combine these and cook them together if you want to. That will flavor the pork. If I don't combine these until I'm ready to serve it, then I can use the sauce for something else, and I can use the pork and the broth for something else too. So there's our pork and green sauce, Mexico City style, one of my great favorites. Let me make sure it's as good as it's supposed to be. Nice. I'm in heaven. Thank you. Thanks for being here today. I hope you'll give this a try.